Welcome back to the restoration of this massy steam hammer. We've taken it from a pile of rust that it was, it now looks beautiful, and in this episode, I hope to get it running. There's a few more tweaks that we need to make to it before we hook it up to anything. For now, we're going to hook it up to compressed air. But when this was built in 1915 to be sold to Armstrong Whitworth, who were making armaments for the First World War, it of course would have been hooked up to steam. Now, 1914, a year earlier, is when today's episode sponsor, Supremacy 1914, was set. And let me tell you about it. It is a free online PvP strategy game where you can choose a country to lead during World War I and then fight up to 500 other players in real time in games that can take weeks to complete. You can build your army how you like, whether with cavalry, tanks, or planes, declare war to your neighbors, or make alliances with others. You get to choose your strategy, engage in battle, and try to take over the world. I like that Supremacy 1914 takes a completely different tack to other games. This is about long-term strategy, and they've fortunately given you an exclusive gift. If you click the link in my description below, you can get 15,000 gold and 1 premium subscription, but the offer is only valid for the next 30 days, so don't sleep on it. Click the link in the description down below and start playing Supremacy 1914. Thank you to them for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to playing with our 1915 power hammer. We're gonna save talking about how we power the thing for a little bit later. As you can see, there's a decent sized compressor sitting there in the background. We're gonna get to that. For now, we need to hook up this connection, because things seem to have moved around a little bit. We need to reinstall this pipe for collecting any condensed water for when this runs on steam, and it needs an oil pump. How did this even come close to lining up the first time? What the hell is going on? I think I'm gonna have to do a little cutting and pasting. All right, the abomination is in. Managed to get the union to thread, squeeze it all together. I hope it doesn't leak, but I'm only about 10% confident that it won't leak. Now, this bit. Ew. It's in! Now, let's talk about our good friend, Earl. This puppy right here lives against those 2 holes, and this is an oil pump. Patent, steam and pneumatic hammer lubricator.
First thing you need to do is clean it up though, because it looks hideous.
Yeah, it looks like garbage. Let's do that. Right, this pump feels a bit sticky. Should not be so sticky, I imagine. I have in my possession, I don't know where they went. Aha! Some of the only drawings we could find for anything on this hammer are the drawings for the oiler. So, if that plunger is sticky, it looks like I should be able to remove this screw, be able to pull it out without any dramas. That's so interesting. That looks like regular old cotton twine. And of course, once that's soaked with oil, probably actually seals it fairly well for the intended application. Ah, it's bent. That's brilliant. So as you can see, we've made really big improvements. It moves so much freer.
Like the sword in the stove.
Why is it stuck? Oh, I put the cotton back on and it's just made this. Wow. I just wrapped the cotton around there and now it's immovable. Got steam oil arriving tomorrow. For now though, let's try some of this stuff. Oh! It got all over me! That's what we're talking about. Oh yeah. Whoa! Look how high it's going! Whoa!
Well, keep going, you might be able to touch the ceiling.
This is the spacer that goes between the oiler and the power hammer, but it's a bit crap, so we're gonna make a new one.
This is where a socket would come in handy, socket wrench. You know what that is?
Yeah, it's like a type of spanner. Oiler on, and fortunately, the actual oil has arrived. That was a good aim, because wow, they use good tape. I hate this so much. Who likes packing peanuts? Yoko, no, Yoko, out. For goodness sake, she just eats anything. She just eats anything. This steam oil. Okie doke, so what's the special deal about steam oil, you might ask? Well, I've got the answers for you, and they are coming right up. It's produced from special cylinder stock treated with fatty compounds, particularly tallow, to provide superior lubrication even in wet conditions. So it's oil that allows you to oil things even when your things are wet. This power hammer obviously needs its dedicated antique-looking oil can. I got upsold at checkout. Extra 12 quid I had to pay, goodness. I didn't have to pay, it's just the checkout page was there. We can now do an oiling run just like we're on a steam locomotive. If this thing doesn't work, I spent 12 quid on an oil can that doesn't work. Oh, well, this power hammer has a load of oil holes. Because there's a lot of moving parts that need lubrication. That needs lubrication. Needs lubrication. You know what probably needs lubrication? This shaft. In order to get the steam oil from the pump to this inlet or outlet, we are going to need to put some copper line in place. So we need exactly one oily, tied together assembly of ropes worth of copper, plus a little bit for mistakes, and a little bit more for more mistakes.
It's handy that we had this left over.
It is very handy. You know what this is left over from? Our new German friend, now old German friend. So we clamp the pipe in this bad boy. This goes on. Boom, that's flared. That stops the olive falling off the end. Bosh, we've got a seal. That's way too much copper. How did that happen? What have I done? Squeeze! Knead that into a little bit of a nicer circle. Look at that, she in. Now that we've got oil to it, it should theoretically be completely sealed. All the valving, all the cylinders should be how they're meant to be for it to run. So we've got to talk about how we power it. My end goal is either to take this somewhere where we can hook it up to steam, or find a way to get steam to it for a day and forge under it how it was designed to forge, with the power of steam. That would be so cool, but getting access to that is obviously going to be very challenging, but that's the dream. In order to make the most of that day, which we've yet to figure out, I want to be able to test it on compressed air. The few steam hammers that are still in operation today are largely all converted to run on compressed air. My friend Ethan Harty in Canada, he's got a 600-pound steam hammer that he runs on compressed air, though he has run it on steam before. And he explained to me how he does it. He has a gigantic diesel air compressor connected to two ginormous air receiver tanks to hold all that compressed air, and then it comes out of those tanks at 1.5 inches diameter straight into his machine. So what I've done is I have borrowed this. This is nowhere near the size of air receiver tank that I would need to run this machine properly. This is a 500-liter tank, and he has something like 3,000 plus liters of air storage. But I borrowed this from a neighbor, and that neighbor also has a diesel air compressor, which I will borrow as well. The plan is, we rig this tank to that machine, and then we hook the diesel compressor to this. Diesel compressor fills up 500 liters of air through hopefully a really big bore. We can send the air into here and maybe get a couple of strokes out of it before we deplete the reservoir of air and have to wait for the diesel compressor to fill it back up again. Running a machine like this requires inordinate amounts of volume, so big CFM, cubic feet per minute. So I imagine that if we can get it to work, we're not going to be able to run it for long. But I want to be able to do this so that we can see if we've got any crazy leaks, if any of this valving is completely messed up, or if any of it needs to be adjusted. And it's very possible that this is a catastrophic failure. But now we must begin connecting this power hammer to this tank of air.
Unfortunately, here in England, you cannot just go to the local Ace Hardware and buy all these fittings. I have to order all of these. And it means that if I calculated anything wrong, I'm in the poop for a few days. That's a very big thread. I don't think I have an adapter for that.
That also doesn't look like a regular pipe thread. I don't even know if it's worth ordering the British Standard pipe. This is British Standard pipe. But like, I have no idea if this is even British Standard pipe, just in a larger diameter. I guess what I need to do is get the calipers out and see, is this a standard dimension of British Standard pipe? If so, order an adapter. Fitting, I guess is the technical term. 74.35. So that's the same teeth per inch as British Standard pipe thread. And from the chart that I looked at, British Standard pipe thread has the same teeth per inch at this 2-inch size as it does at 2.5-inch size. And the diameter of this leads me to believe that it might be British Standard pipe thread 2.5 inches, and so I'm going to order effectively this, just in the size up, a reducing bush that will thread into here, and then we'll come out of that to something. Power of next day delivery. Let's have a look.
Oh, made for it, folks.
Alrighty, I put all the pipe where I think it needs to be. Now all we got to do is thread tape it. We are on the doorstep of the moment of truth. We're completely plumbed in. Inlet valve, coming all the way down, all these funky bends, into that bad boy. This right here is a fitting that's going to connect to the diesel compressor that our neighbor is just bringing around for us to use. We've been working on this steam hammer for 5 months. And in just a few minutes,
we're going to explode it into 1,000 pieces.
We'll hopefully not be doing that. That monster is a 275 CFM diesel compressor. We may have 1/6 of the stored air that Mr. Ethan Harty has to run his steam hammer, but we do have a plenty beefy diesel compressor to feed the tank. Like this and twist. Okay. Press and hold. Exciting, also very scary. Right, there goes the valve. There is currently 25 PSI. Let's see what happens. Where does the air leak? Trouble is, I don't know what setting is like normal setting. God, that's a devilish noise though, I tell you what. We've now got like 125 PSI. That's what this would be running on if it was steam. Let's see what happens. Oh, shit, the ram lifted, Jamie. Look. Let me come mess with this. Well, now begins the endless troubleshooting. The ram lifted like 2 inches. Remarkably little leakage. That's incredible. It's incredible, but like I can't find any massive leaks that don't make sense. For some reason the ram's not lifting again though. Just check there's nothing stuck on the ram. Does feel a bit sticky. Did you see that? It bloody hammered. It hammered! Goodness gracious me. Goodness gracious me. Okay, so that means in this setting here, once the machine has power, it just starts hammering at the current settings. Now let's try this setting and see what happens. Okay, same again. How about this? That also is hammering. How about the 4th setting? Wow! Unbelievable, mind-blowing, it still hammers. Now that we can get the hammer to run, we need it to run better. It goes dug-dug-dug-dug-dug-dug. There's no control. Nothing I do here does anything to control what the hammer does. Sometimes it hammers, sometimes it doesn't. And so we've got a whole lot of tweaking to do to mess around with these linkages, to learn what they do, and make the hammer run right. If you guys have got any ideas on how to get these linkages set up right, let us know in the comments down below. We love hearing from you in the comments. And if anybody has a steam engine that they want to bring here to plumb this thing up with steam, please also reach out to me. Big thank you to Supremacy 1914 for sponsoring this episode. Please be sure to click the link down below in the description. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.